There is a particular kind of grief that has no funeral. Just a phone that stops ringing and a silence so complete that everyone watching from outside assumes something violent must have happened. They assume anger. They assume cruelty. They assume the person who walked away stopped caring. But that is almost never what happened. Estrangement almost never begins with a dramatic explosion. It begins with erosion. Slow, quiet, almost invisible to everyone except the person living through it. For years, even decades, the relationship looks normal from the outside. Birthdays are celebrated. Holidays are endured. Smiles appear in photos. But beneath the surface, something is wearing down layer by layer, not because of one catastrophic event, but because of hundreds of small ones that accumulate like sediment at the bottom of a river. Psychologists call this microtrauma. The subtle criticism disguised as concern. The boundary pushed a little further each year. The dismissive tone that tells you your feelings don't matter. Together, these moments become a psychological climate. Over time, your body responds before your mind does. You tense before the phone rings, rehearse conversations before family gatherings, shrink parts of yourself to keep the peace. What you once called family dynamics becomes chronic anxiety woven into daily life. Estrangement doesn't happen because someone stops caring. It happens because they have gradually run out of capacity, energy, hope, space to keep absorbing the same wounds. Before the break comes the exhaustion. Before the exhaustion comes years of being slowly worn down. Not anger, depletion. From the outside, estrangement looks abrupt, like someone woke up angry and decided to disappear. But that is the illusion of the volcano effect. A volcanic eruption looks sudden, only to those not watching the pressure build beneath. Lava doesn't appear overnight. The mountain holds it in until it can't. The final argument, the holiday meltdown, the hurtful comment, those are never the true cause. They are simply the moment the internal pressure becomes unbearable. To the parent, you cut me off because of this. To the adult child, no, I'm stepping away because this has happened for 20 years. The break looks sudden only because the suffering was silent. Estrangement is rarely a reaction. It is a culmination. Long before someone chooses distance, many have been cast into roles they never agreed to play. In dysfunctional or narcissistic family systems, identity is not discovered. It is assigned. The golden child exists to fulfill the family's narrative, praised and idealized at whatever cost to their own authenticity. The scapegoat is blamed for tensions they didn't create, often the healthiest, most emotionally aware member, and the first to be pushed out when they stop absorbing everyone else's shame. The invisible child survives by disappearing, keeping quiet, needing little skilled at self-reliance but chronically unsure if they deserve to exist loudly. And then the heaviest role, the parentified child, the emotional caretaker for their own parents, growing up believing love must be earned through service, sacrifice, and silence. None of these roles allow a child to develop a true self. When someone finally steps out, when they try to become a whole human instead of a family function, the system resists, blames, punishes. Because in families like these, the moment you reclaim yourself is the moment you become a threat. Estrangement, for many, isn't about leaving the family. It's about escaping the role that was breaking them. If any of this is landing somewhere in your chest, take a moment to drop a like on the video. It helps more people find conversations like this one. And if you value psychology that goes beneath the surface, subscribing is the best way to stay. Some wounds bleed, others don't, and those are often the ones that shape us most. Emotional neglect is quiet. It leaves no bruises, no clear moment you can point to. It is defined entirely by what never happened, the comfort not offered, the protection that never came, the curiosity about your inner world that no one ever showed. Growing up without emotional attunement teaches a child something devastating, that their feelings are either too much or not worth noticing. This is the empty well. You keep returning, hoping just once to draw water. Maybe this time they'll listen. Maybe this time they'll ask how you really are. But every visit ends the same. A dry bucket, a hollow chest, a familiar disappointment. Most people don't leave because of what their parents did. They leave because of what their parents could never give. Returning again and again to an empty well eventually becomes a form of self-abandonment. The pain of what happened can be healed. The pain of what never happened takes longer because you are grieving a version of childhood you never got to live. Why do people endure years, sometimes decades, before stepping away? The answer lives inside two intertwined forces: trauma bonding and the hope cycle. Trauma bonding forms when moments of harm are woven through with moments of warmth. A cutting remark followed by an apology, a cold silence followed by rare affection, a boundary crossed, and then a promise that things will be different. The nervous system becomes conditioned to confuse inconsistency with love. The hope cycle begins. It keeps you waiting, forgiving, returning to situations that slowly dismantle your sense of self. Hope isn't the problem. It's that the hope is always about who they could be, not who they consistently are. Many stay because they were taught that leaving makes them disloyal, that wanting peace means they are the problem. When someone finally walks away, it is not because they stopped loving, it is because they realized the cycle was not going to change. Estrangement often begins with a heartbreaking realization: if I stay, I'll disappear. When people hear the words no contact, they imagine punishment or revenge. But distance is rarely a declaration of anger. It is a strategy of survival, and it rarely arrives all at once. Some choose low contact first. Fewer conversations, shorter visits, topics kept at the surface. A way of saying, I still care, but I can no longer give you the same access to my inner life. Others use gray rock, becoming neutral, predictable, unreactive because reacting fuels the old patterns. Gray rock isn't cold, it's self-protection. And then, after years of trying, some arrive at no contact not because they hate their family, but because every lesser boundary was ignored. No contact becomes the final tool to stop the cycle, reclaim mental health, rebuild identity. Choosing distance activates grief, guilt, and relief all at once, mourning the parent you hoped for. Guilt for wanting peace, relief when the chaos stops. Distance is not rejection. It is clarity the moment someone says, I cannot change you, but I can protect myself. For many, it is the first time they finally feel safe. But here is the part almost no one talks about: the grief that follows. Psychologists call it ambiguous loss. A mourning that happens when the person you are grieving is still alive, still walking around, still posting photographs at Christmas, yet emotionally unreachable. There is no funeral, no final goodbye, no ritual. Just a lingering ache, a question mark, where clarity should be. You are grieving not only the relationship you lost, but the relationship you never had, the version of your parents who might have protected you, loved you without conditions. Letting go of that imagined parent can feel like losing them twice. Then comes the holidays. Thanksgiving tables with an empty seat, Christmas mornings that feel too quiet. Everyone else seems wrapped in warmth while you navigate an invisible grief no one knows how to comfort. And yet, even inside the grief, there is relief. The anxiety is gone. The nervous system finally exhales. But that relief comes with guilt, as if choosing peace makes you disloyal. This is the emotional cost of freedom, the heartbreak of choosing your well-being over your history. Healing begins when you realize you can mourn what you lost and still move toward the life you deserve. For many people, estrangement is not the end of a story. It is the beginning of a life they were never allowed to fully live. Once the noise quiets and the guilt softens, something unexpected surfaces: a sense of self buried under years of roles, expectations, and survival strategies. Reclaiming identity is not a sudden revelation. It is a slow, tender rebuilding. You begin asking questions you were never permitted to ask. What do I actually want? What feels safe for me? And for the first time, your answers are not filtered through fear of judgment or punishment. You stop shrinking. You stop apologizing for existing. You begin to trust the voice that was silenced for so long. Along this path, something called a family of choice begins to take shape. A partner who truly listens, friends who feel like home, people who don't love you because of obligation, DNA, or tradition, but because they see you, value you, and choose you. The cycle breaks not when you walk away from the family you were born into, but when you begin building the family your spirit always needed. Reclaiming identity is an act of courage. Creating a family of choice is an act of liberation. Walking away doesn't mean you are heartless. It means you stopped walking back into the fire just because you were told to. You chose peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, healing over history. You are allowed to grieve. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to build a life shaped not by the wounds of your past, but by the love you choose, the boundaries you deserve, and the future you are finally giving yourself permission to live. Cutting off someone you love isn't always about anger or betrayal. It's often your mind trying to protect itself. If you've ever stepped back from someone important, what was really going on inside your head? Share it in the comments, and let's explore these hidden emotional patterns together. If this video helped you understand even a little, hit subscribe so we can continue diving deep into the human mind. Thank you for watching.